Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Bran.
Hello.
It says Bran. His name is Brandon, but I'll read.
No, that's good enough.
Okay. Kestrel.
Yo.
And Kane.
Hello. I like the fact that we do the clapping, and so does Jon Stewart for his podcast, and that's probably the only thing we'll ever have in common.
But everybody claps. If they tell you they don't, they're lying.
Well, he claps, but his podcasts sometimes start with him talking about how he doesn't understand how the clap works.
What's there to understand?
I don't know. I guess he just doesn't understand like the engineering. He's like, "Do I clap now? Why am I clapping? What's the clap?" And then they'll just cut to the title song.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the podcasts I listen to that always does the timed audience clap. The engineer's like, we don't really need the clap, guys. I've got this. They're like, no, we clap for the energy, or rather, you need it anymore or not. We need to do this
for the history of the clap.
Yeah, for the tradition.
It is very funny, and also it's good. It's good to have that backup. Yeah, cool. We've been away forever. Some of us had the plague. Others of us had a different plague. I lost my voice for a good several days, but we're back. Hey, it's been too long. We have a
whole anime season's worth of time has passed.
Basically,
yeah. I feel way behind reviewing my one show, which I'm only now catching up on as the season ends. But we are here to talk about all the news that we have been neglecting in our pursuit of being able to breathe air and swallow and not cough our brains out and, all that good stuff.
I feel like that's the true sense of normalcy, though, when we get on and Kate's still like, I'm behind on anime, then everything is actually fine.
I feel like without the peer pressure, I'm even more behind on the anime.
Wow, so you can't even use that as an excuse.
It's
okay. This season was pretty garbage anyways.
I mean, I'm enjoying the one show I'm watching, but I'd probably be enjoying that regardless of any other situation. But
there were a few diamonds in the rough.
We'll talk about all that next week.
Yeah, we'll get there.
That's true. That's true.
We will be covering all of that next week. Really, for reals. No zillion-year break this time. Famous last words. But news, yes. All the news. So much news. Oh my god. I hope. I haven't actually looked at the news doc.
Oh yeah, we got 2 months of news. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
You want me to just get going with that?
Yeah, I thought we already covered this first one. I guess we didn't.
No, we definitely haven't talked about that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, all of this was after the last time we recorded.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we last recorded over 2 months ago.
What year
is it? 2 months?
It's been 2 months and 1 day. Yep.
Oh my god. What the hell? What happened? Where'd my summer go? I'm so lost.
So anyway, first piece of news, as always, it's been 2 months. We're going to have some depressing news in there. We're going to have some less depressing news. It's kind of spread all through because it's in chronological order. So we'll start with a downer, and we'll get back to some downers as we go along. So we talked about solo leveling relatively recently because it got an anime announced at Anime Expo by Crunchyroll. It's going to be production IG, music by Sawano. Can't remember any other details, but those are important notes about it. It's a series that I've been reading since it's been put out in physical volume format by Yen Press. It's really beautiful. It's all full color. And unfortunately, this announcement was that the artist of it, who goes by the name Dubu, passed away from a chronic illness. a cerebral hemorrhage while suffering from chronic illness, actually. So, yeah, I don't know if their age was known, but got the impression that they were not particularly old. So, very sad all around.
That's a bummer. Right before the anime, too.
I know. Okay, next piece of news.
Yeah, I got nothing for that. Just sad.
Just
sad. On a happier note, so several conventions happened, all within the first few weeks of these 2 months. One of them was Otakon, and Discotheque was there, so they had a panel, and they had some announcements, as always. Biggest announcement out of that was that they will be releasing the original Urusei Yatsura anime series. They've been releasing the movies on Blu-ray, and the original series was released by Animego back in the day. I had the first few DVD singles of those, and they must have been like some of the first anime DVDs ever released over here, because they're like day one DVDs. And it's been pretty much unreleased and unavailable since then. It might be on like Retro Crush or one of those sites. But in terms of home video, yeah, Discotheque is going to be bringing it back for the first time in decades. Obviously, you know, this coincides with we're getting a new Urusei Yatsura anime in a few weeks. So good timing. But yeah, that's big news. They also announced the City Hunter films and a bunch of other things. Nothing else that I was all that enthused about. But yeah, a lot of announcements as always.
City Hunter was always an old school thing I wanted to get into. Like, I see it. It's on Retro Crush a lot. Like, Urusei Yatsura is too, because I actually have that on my Roku and turn it on occasionally. It's good for background noise. Like, if it's like just constant anime TV with commercials and all that, which isn't, you know, a bad thing necessarily because it's free and whatever. But yeah, City Hunter is something I've always wanted to get into, especially because I want to say it had a Jackie Chan movie. Like, I think, right. Yeah, I think it had a Jackie Chan live action, which, I mean, can't be awful because it's Jackie Chan, but still, because I know that, yeah, they did the TV series, which had a couple seasons or a couple different, like, names, I believe. And then, yeah, several movies and stuff. But the Urusei Yatsura thing is really exciting as well. I know to borrow a gaming term, the HD 2D version that they're making of it is really exciting, and I like it a lot because it makes that perfect balance of the spirit of the old art with the technology of the new, so it doesn't look completely different, but it looks modern enough that I feel like a lot of audiences that would have never watched it before because it looked old could get into it.
Right, exactly.
Which I think is something more studios that are willing to put time and money into these like remasters wouldn't hurt to do, because some of them, admittedly, even as someone who likes old anime, some of them look rough. Like, they do, and there's a charm to it, but if you're trying to expand that audience and when the major gripe is always it looks old, well, maybe it wouldn't hurt to polish it up a little bit if you have the time and the resources.
Yeah, like, I bring this up because, you know, we're seeing a Gundam remake of the episode that Tomino didn't want anyone to watch 45 years ago, coming out in a week. But, like, are they making all this new UC material, like, exclusively for boomers? Like, wouldn't you remake the original series by now? It is the foundation for all of these new big UC properties that they're coming out with. Why would you not give that a fresh coat of paint after all these years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wonder if it's just because it's like maybe they're afraid it's too much of a investment when they can do these individual like small movies and OVAs, and maybe those are a little bit cheaper to do and easier to produce than trying to make an entire series. I wouldn't really know. Similar question always comes up: why do they never just release the original versions of the Star Wars movies? It wouldn't be hard, but I'm sure there's some obscure business reason.
my hope for both of those is 50th anniversary. So 5 years for Star Wars, 7 for Gundam.
I've always heard that the original theatrical cuts of Star Wars don't exist anymore.
I mean, most of them, you've got like Harmy's Despecialized and the 4K projects. Like, they've got, you can make most of it work. Like the Ava Blu-rays, like one episode, they clearly lost the masters and it looks rough. And maybe there would be scenes from, the re-release of the theatrical cuts that looked relatively rough. But like most of those movies are still in the versions that get released in now 4K HDR. So I feel like it's unlikely that the other bits have been lost to history.
I'm sure George just has them locked away in a basement.
I mean,
somewhere.
That was always the thing, was like George Lucas won't let anyone see the original versions because in 1997 he wanted to tie them into the prequel trilogy and fill them with all his dumb bullshit. But he doesn't have anything to do with the franchise anymore because it's completely owned by Disney. So that shouldn't be a determining factor anymore. So I'm hoping that, 50th anniversary rolls around in 5 years. They finally give all the fans a reason to give them a lot more money for fancy 4K Blu-rays of that, and new theatrical runs and everything.
I would hope. I don't have much faith in the what do you call it? History of Hollywood taking particularly good care of their archives of literally everything under the sun, and they so it would surprise me if those original. What I've heard is actually specifically for Star Wars is that like all of the prints that people have the subtitle, like either because originally when it was originally released in theaters it was just Star Wars and no like episode 4 attached to, or like whatever, like it was just Star Wars, no subtitle, and like that version does not exist anymore. Which is possible.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we could have an excellent documentary on the restoration project that will need to go into this.
It would be like the title card, I mean, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating that, hey, we don't really, we lost an entire TV network's entire output because they threw it into the fucking river, so,
That happens a lot with video games too. I think it's just the idea that a lot of these industries are industries at the end of the day, and a lot of the people that are in charge of them may only see them as money-making ventures. And especially back in the old days of video games, they'd make the video game and then they'd be like, well, we don't have the space to keep this, so we're just going to rewrite over, the data or throw it out because the game was published, it made its money, and now we're done with it. Which makes it hard for historical preservation of a lot of things like this, especially like early PC games. But to link it back to anime a little bit, it's funny the way that the new Prince of Tennis is handling sort of the reoccurring characters and their flashbacks in regards to Ryoma. And by interesting, I mean they just use the old episode and they just put the old episode in there with all the old late 90s, early 2000s art interspersed with this, 2022 HD art. So I don't know why they made that decision, but I guess when there's a will, there's a way. Just, let's just slap the old anime in there.
Man, even One Piece stopped doing that shit. They just started reanimating,
You would think they'd reanimate it for the Prince of Tennis one because the flashbacks are only a couple seconds. It's not like they're doing full episodes. It's just like a flashback to someone making a facial expression and then hitting a tennis ball, and you think, why not just animate that real quick? But no, they decided to copy and paste the old shit in there.
That's a choice.
Yeah, Discotech, I'm sure, will do a great job with this stuff. Their Project Echo is really good. Like, their remaster of everything of Project Echo is really fantastic looking. So I'm sure I'm sure the old stuff is in really good hands as it normally is with that crew. I never watched the Digimon things that they did, but I mean, just seeing those screenshots is like night and day. So
yeah, I don't think that's actually out yet. People have just reacted to the screenshots.
I'm not really paying attention to its release dates or anything since I've never really been super big into Digimon. I just know those, like the Twitter screenshots when they use that AI and it looks insane. So
yeah. So yeah, shit like that exists. We can have Star Wars anyway. Next piece of news. We got a couple news stories like this actually. This is the first one of them. The Overlord light novel series is going to end. So that will be a story with an ending. And this kind of applies to the other one of these later on down the line. But it made me think about the fact that I can't really think of one of these modern isekai series that I've actually experienced an end to. So I'm curious to see how they conclude these stories and if they acknowledge the premise or how it came to happen at all.
That's true. You never really see the end game for an isekai. It's like, do they ever make it back to the real world? Do they even want to go back to the real world? It's kind of up in the air.
Is the fact that they were isekai'd in episode 1 even relevant anymore?
Yeah.
Do we care about that? Are we invested in that fact anymore?
I feel like the only one I can think of that might get treated to an ending at some point is like ReZero. But not many others I can think of a reason that they would conclude it when they can just keep making more.
Yeah, they can keep printing money.
Slime is supposed to end soon. So, also, I believe they already announced an ending for that. So
I guess we're getting a bunch of big isekai endings before too long.
I honestly thought Sword Art Online ended.
Oh, no.
No, that shit prints money. But also, it's like, you don't need an ending because it could end after every arc. The situation's been resolved. It's not like there's any mystery as to the isekai-ness of it. And it's reversed. They go into a game and they get out of the game and then they go into another game because they're idiots who keep playing these VR games that
why do they keep doing this to themselves?
They just re-isekai themselves. You're like, surely this one won't be fatal.
Yep. That guy's making a new series. It's the same thing as his last 3, I think. But yeah, that guy's still pumping those out.
Wow.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
But yeah. He does seem fairly busy. I'm pretty sure he's doing a bunch of series simultaneously, which, I mean, I guess more money, but seems like he could just stick with Sword Art and make all the money he'd ever need. All right.
There's 4 seasons in now?
It is on its 4th, yeah. Yeah, let me check what the light novel count is up to right now. Because, it was announced that it's going to end in 2 volumes as of a couple months ago. So it's up to 16. So it's going to have 18 volumes total.
Wowzers. Yeah, I honestly never thought it was going to get that popular. And that comes from no education on it whatsoever. I just don't remember it being a lot of hype around it in the same way that some others have. But it's going, and they're still making it, so people are watching it and reading it. Good for them.
All right. Next piece of news, big piece of news. Obviously, it's old news at this point, so it's not,
yeah, we should have done a whole episode of this when this happened, but
I know. Yeah. So, few months ago, it's already this year, we talked about how there used to be all these companies that existed independent of a company called Crunchyroll, and now they're all part of a company called Crunchyroll in one form or another. And now joining that list is the biggest anime retailer, a company that's existed for the past 35 years. Right Stuff is now part of Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
This was so out of left field. I don't think this was on anybody's bingo card.
I think at this point you just have to accept that every independent anime company is going to become part of Crunchyroll at this point.
It's just it's just weird because it's a retailer.
Yeah, but I mean they also have a licensing and publishing arm. And
they do, but they are primarily a retailer, which is weird.
Which is probably what made them so appealing, because Crunchyroll's like, yeah, if we can control the retail space, we control the streaming space, we control the biggest licensing, dubbing, distribution company, then we've got it all.
Save the retailer, save the world.
It's just silly.
I think
one of the first things they did was like put a crackdown on the hentai section.
I was just gonna say that was like a big mystery when it came out, but I'm pretty sure there's a separate website for it now.
Yeah, and they announced that up front.
Yeah, but it was very like, hey, this happened. Also, this isn't ready to go yet. Like,
yeah. It took like a month or two for that to actually come to fruition. So that's basically the only thing that's different immediately. No adult content whatsoever, which some of the things they define under that umbrella are questionable. Sometimes it's just like there are gay things, which is a bummer.
That's no good.
Also, ironically, they made this big license of interspecies reviewers after everyone else dropped it, and released it under their adult line. And then, they had it for like a limited edition steelbook that they sold for $69.69. Nice. And then they finally just re-released it in a standard format for less than that. And then like a few weeks later, they made this announcement, which means that you couldn't buy their new release on their website anymore. And for a while you can buy it anywhere. But yeah, then they finally came out with this new, I think it's just called buyanime.com, which is not what it was originally going to be.
Complete cowards. Label it buy anime. Very misleading.
I mean, it's a dangerous name, because that's the thing that people could just type in assuming it was an anime retailer and not expect a bunch of titties in their face.
Yeah, really.
So that's kind of funny. But yeah, that's where all their adult stuff went. Their adult line is now just its own thing. The site is very obviously just right stuff with porn on it.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's funny. They're like, you want? Nah.
Yeah,
just pick it up and copy paste it.
But what's surprising is that they did go to the trouble of like moving their warehouse to a different state. I can't remember where it is now.
Did they really?
Yeah, so yes.
For the porn. Yeah, for the porn.
For the porn, yeah. No, the main stuff's still Iowa.
And they're really like, we gotta get this out of here. I don't want to see these icky boobies and shit.
I was expecting it to be like, when ADV dissolved into a bunch of companies that were totally not ADV, but they were all fucking headquartered in Houston and owned by John Ledford. So they're being slightly more subtle than that with this. But
I love the mental image that I just imagine, like giant armored cars moving all the naughty hentai out.
Yeah, just industrial size shipments of porn.
Oh god, what a beautiful image.
They really should have named the website something like buttstuff.com.
Oh my god. That'd be amazing.
But yeah, how this affects everything except the naughty stuff remains to be seen. But it's a concern. Yeah.
So that was like the only major change. I haven't been on the website, in a while, so I haven't really looked. I mean, I guess I would wonder what else could you really change outside of like pricing and maybe like stuff you don't necessarily see on the customer facing side, like the customer service could get better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one question about this is chances are, if they're being smart, they know that Bright Stuff has been in this business forever. Let them just keep doing everything as they have been doing everything. But Crunchyroll has its own store. Funimation had its own store, which has been merged into the Crunchyroll store. They could totally rebrand the whole thing as they're rebranding Funimation. It could become fucking Crunchy Stuff. So yeah,
Jeez, stop.
Right, crunch.
yeah.
Now what are they going to do with all those copies of the High School of the Dead OVA?
Oh, that's another good point. That's something I wanted to bring up. Not specifically High School of the Dead OVA, but that is Sentai. The only one who's not owned by Crunchyroll, well, then Discotek and Viz, I guess. But we always see the Crunchyroll sales on the Crunchyroll shop, where the High School of the Dead OVA is always like 99 cents. But the Sentai shop is operated by Right Stuff. If you buy something from Sentai, you get it in the Right Stuff package with all the Right Stuff packaging and comes from Iowa, all that shit. So I'm curious how that's going to change.
I imagine not right away because they probably have some agreement in place, as usual.
Right. And like they've had, Crunchyroll has been partnering with every other company in the industry for as long as they've been legit. Right Stuff has been partnering with every other company in the industry for as long as they've been selling products. So, I don't imagine that all of these relationships are immediately going to go away, if ever. If they're beneficial to all parties, then yeah, why not keep them around?
From my experience of using Right Stuff recently, I don't think anything's changed. Customer service front as well. I actually had some old pre-orders being sent to my old apartment, and I dealt with that through email pretty easily. Same thing. They still label themselves Right Stuff employees and all that, and comes from their email. So I don't think any of that stuff's changed just yet. So,
all right. This is important. For your pre-orders, were any of them in an order that had partially shipped already?
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
And you were able to get them changed easily through email?
I know they're still going to my old apartment, so I'm going to have to finagle my way into it once they arrive, but
okay, because I've been dealing with the exact same scenario for how long have I been here? 4 months. Because the initial people that I dealt with were just like, we've updated all the addresses for your 10,000 pre-orders, except for these 5 orders, which are about to ship. But what it actually meant was that part of them was about to or had already shipped, which means that I'm still getting multi-$100 packages delivered to 3,000 miles away. And it's media mail, which fucking doesn't forward 99% of the time for some reason. And so I've spent so many hours on the phone with USPS and in cases with Right Stuff that they just fucking close without doing anything about. So eventually I just called Right Stuff, which, took 4 months of pain for me to accept that I had to make a phone call. And I got a competent customer person who was able to change my one remaining order that hadn't already shipped to my old address. But I have a $130 package of a deluxe edition Attack on Titan vinyl somewhere between Vermont and LA that supposedly got forwarded 3 weeks ago. But since it's media mail, who knows if it'll ever get here. So yeah, that's fun. Anyway, that has nothing to do with news, but I needed to vent about that.
It's our news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully customer service will improve.
God.
Can't get much worse.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, definitely nothing has changed so far outside of the adult products. Nothing has been rebranded. That may change in the future, but that's about all I could really see. How much else can you really change? I can't imagine that they get rid of Right Stuff and it just all becomes part of Crunchyroll's store, but I'm prepared for anything at this point.
I can't imagine they would move their main warehouse because you don't have to pay people as much money in Iowa.
True. Yeah, and they could keep that, but rebrand it all because, like, they've still got dubbing facilities in Dallas. They've got their Culver City office that they inherited when Sony bought Funimation. They've got their Crunchyroll headquarters in San Francisco. They'll keep their Iowa stuff going. So, but it could all be under the Crunchyroll brand and all be very orange.
Just from what I experienced moving what books I have between apartments, moving books sucks. So I can imagine they don't want to move an entire warehouse if they don't have to.
Yeah, that's money that doesn't need to be spent. So
no.
Yeah, definitely. Although, for some reason, they moved all the porn to a different state, so who knows?
True.
Yeah, that's just silly.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Go ahead.
Where did they move the porn to? Vegas?
I don't know, it's like Tennessee or something. I don't know. I'll see if I can find it. But
I'm wondering if they're trying to move it to a state where it's not quite as Iowa as Iowa.
Not quite as Iowa.
It's Nevada.
They move it to Utah and let the Mormons deal with that.
No.
We need this porn in a place that's a little less Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, you know how the country is. Maybe they're like, hey, where's the most like porn happy place that we can move this shit to? Vegas.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's Nevada. So maybe it is Vegas. I can't remember if it said the city anywhere.
I'm going with my theory. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll like, I don't know. They're probably going to make this illegal in the state soon. We should probably move the shit out of here.
I assumed it was just going to be their Iowa warehouse would have a little curtain in the back corner, and you have to go back in there.
The beaded curtain in the back.
Plus, 18 plus, do not enter.
They used to have that. It's funny because, like, I feel like this is all within the past year, like a year, maybe 2 years ago, you would go on Right Stuff and, you would be looking at any normal filter, any normal sale, any list of products, and there would just be a bunch of titties in your face because they would not hide that shit at all. And then they started like filtering out by default, where you'd have to press a checkbox to show it. And then they started like blurring all the covers when you're reviewing it, and now it's all gone entirely. But it wasn't so long ago that it was all just in your face, not sectioned off by anything. And I remember the print equivalent of the beaded curtain in the back corner, which was the old physical catalogs that they used to send out.
I still have those.
And
like folded up, folded over. You have to rip this thing open to be attention.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, with the porn in the back. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
And they stopped including those in the catalogs while they were still doing them.
Yeah.
Yep. Fun stuff.
I still have some of those old catalogs.
Yes. But yeah, anyway, other than that, nothing is changing for the moment. We will surely talk about it when this all becomes crunchy stuff. Next piece of news. So, big old fall 2022 anime season is starting in a few weeks. It's going to be insane. We're going to have tons to talk about every week. And perhaps the biggest new series of the bunch, even more than all the sequels of big shows we're getting, is Chainsaw Man. And we finally got a bunch of news about that. I think before last month, it wasn't even confirmed when it would be airing exactly. We had been told since it was announced that it would happen sometime in 2022. So we all assumed that surely it would come in this fall season. But it's finally confirmed. We're getting it in October. Since then, the exact date, I think October 11th, has been confirmed. It's getting some, premiere events. It might have just had its one in Japan yesterday. It had a bunch of announcements yesterday, so that might have been the premiere event. We're getting it in the US with the dub a few days before its TV premiere at New York Comic Con. They announced the cast of both Japanese and English. Pretty, not big name cast for both, surprisingly enough. The lead in the original Japanese version has basically never had a role before. He's had 5 background characters without names. So that's a huge, huge step up for him. And I went to the panels at Anime Expo and Crunchyroll Expo about this, and they were talking about how they wanted a young director. The director also shockingly has no directing credits to his name, despite the rest of the staff being the biggest names, and them obviously putting as much money as possible into it. But they said they wanted the director to be a young guy because Fujimoto's a young guy. They wanted all the cast to be young guys. And yeah, so we're getting some relative newcomers, some definitely established names, but still not the hugest names in the industry. Same thing on the English side. It's going to be the ADR director is Mike McFarland, who's, I think, by far the best ADR director in the business. So that should be in good hands. We got this second to third and fourth, whatever, promo videos. We got the old taste of the opening, which is going to be Kenshi Yonezu, who normally I would think that he wouldn't be a great match for this material, but he sounds really raw. It sounds really energetic. It the few seconds that they played in that little promo video that was released yesterday has been stuck in my head ever since. Normally it takes me at least 3 full episodes of a series for me to even remember anything about the opening song. So that sounds awesome. Every single episode is going to have a different ending by a different artist. All of them are absolute A-list anime-song artists. Yeah. So
Tomeo and Maximum the Hormone, give it to me.
God, Maximum the Hormone. What, 15 years since last time we heard?
They've been cooking. I know it.
Although I guess wasn't the Resurrection F song Maximum the Hormone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was more recent. Okay. Other than that, yeah.
Kenjiro Suda as Kishibe, though, is everything I ever wanted. Literally, if I wasn't already reading his voice lines like that, and then this is just perfecting it. Super hype.
I feel like Kenjiro Suda is I can't remember an anime in the past 5 years that he hasn't been in.
Oh yeah,
he has been in fucking everything, every season. It's insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many he's doing just next season too.
Yeah, it's just absurd how many huge titles we're getting next season.
Yeah. I fully expect him to be a Pipimi-chan in the Pop Team Epic second season. I expect it.
Was he not in season 1?
I don't think he was, but I could be wrong. Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously, all of this footage that we've gotten so far looks incredible. I don't know that anything hits quite as hard as that original teaser did, but it all just continues to affirm that this is just going to be insane. Every single frame of it is going to be amazing. So cannot wait.
I've been trying to learn as little as possible about this. I still know absolutely nothing about it in any way, shape, or form, and I'm keeping it that way.
The only thing I know about it is the author's previous work.
I know that a guy has chainsaws on his arms and his face gets all weird, and that's about it.
Hey, it's all you need to know. Props for being able to keep any of the spoilers away.
You'd be surprised how easy it is when you spend 0 time on anime forums or social media and you just watch the shows.
Yeah,
it's surprisingly easy when you're not actively in communities that talk about it.
I spend time on, our forum, which doesn't talk that much about, current manga. I spend a tiny amount of time on Twitter and less on Reddit. And I can't remember the last time I've been spoiled about anything in any anime or manga. So yeah, it's not that hard if you know to avoid it. I've read the first few chapters of Chainsaw Man when they first came out, and for some reason didn't stick with it. So, other than a vague memory of those from when they first came out, and what I saw and what was discussed in the panels at those two conventions, and what I've seen in the trailers and stuff, I basically don't know anything about Chainsaw Man either.
Hey, so we're both going into it pretty much blind.
We'll all be going into it blind. This will be interesting.
Y'all are gonna have fun, goddamn.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Having a bunch of us, like probably everyone watching it, most of us going in blind, and then at least one person who knows everything that's going to happen. I think that'll be a fun dynamic.
I just hope it's better than the last thing by that guy I read.
That's how the next core of Spy Family is going to be for Emily and myself. Emily started reading the manga as soon as we were done watching that first core, and now she knows everything that's going to happen, and I have, like everything else, just I don't know. I have no idea. So I'll be going in blind while she has all of the reference material.
Yeah, that's the opposite for us. I've read all the manga, and Caitlin has only seen the anime.
Well, Kate, if you need to purge Fire Punch from your mind, I recommend reading his short stories because they're a little less weird, at least.
I honestly didn't mind Fire Punch when I read it, but I think it's because I read it knowing it was weird and nihilistic. So I just kind of took it for what it was. And I've actually met several people that are like, man, I love Fire Punch. Fire Punch is fucking amazing. And I guess it's just because they like how edgy it is.
I don't know anyone who hates Fire Punch as much as Kate. I'll say that.
That's true.
It's just. I don't. It's just like edge for the sake of edge, all the way down. Edge.
What if that edge had a chain on it?
I mean, anything's gonna be an improvement. Over. I wanted to see how Star Wars ended, or whatever the plot point was, and then anyway, yeah, okay, yep.
Yep, Chainsaw Man's going to be good. And if it's not, then it's going to be the biggest disappointment in anime history.
Oh, man, please.
That was the Berserk anime.
Yeah, well.
No.
I mean, at least at this point in the life cycle of that adaptation, you can see the promotional material and be like, oh, that looks concerning. With this, it's like, this looks amazing. This has to be amazing, right? This has incredible staff. They're putting everything into it. Like, what's going to go wrong here? At least with that, it's like, none of these people have ever worked on anything before. It looks really bad.
They're going to be like, you know what? I think we should really make every sound that Denji's chainsaw makes the clank noise from Berserk 2016. I think people will love that.
Yeah,
I remember the slow decline of everyone's attitudes that cared about it here at the podcast with the Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer anime, because I remember when it came out and everybody here was like so hyped for it, and then the stills started coming out, and then the preview, and then everyone was just like, oh no.
The preview came out and everyone was like, why is this also stills?
Yeah, that was a
yeah, it certainly didn't take very long to change.
Yeah. But we're weeks away, so unless everything we've been shown and told is a lie, hopefully it'll at least be very good.
Everything outside of the PV is just Evangelion episode 25, 26. Oh no.
No, dude, it's even worse. Everything is gonna be Inferno Cop.
Hey, you know what?
Even though honestly, I like Inferno Cops, so
yeah, the energy of the Chainsaw Man, like if it has the energy of Inferno Cop, I wouldn't mind. I don't want that to happen, but if that's what happened,
that is one thing you can't take away from Inferno Cop. It is the fact that it has insane chaotic energy. So there is that.
Trigger special.
They really are.
All right. Now back to some downer news. So there's this little series called Loop on the Third. We've been getting anime out of it for better part of a century now, And for the better part of a century, right up until less than a year ago, there has been one consistent person in it, maybe the only person who's worked on the same anime franchise for over 50 years. And that was Kiyoshi Kobayashi, the voice of Daisuke Jigen from 1969 to 2021. And less than a year after his retirement from the role, which got a episode 0 that was, basically a big tribute to him and his role, he has passed away at age 89. So sad to see that legend go, but at least he got to go out on his own terms. He got to put in over half a century. And, he lived to almost 90. So could be worse.
Yeah. Despite how lukewarm I was on Lupin Part 6, that prologue episode was pretty good and definitely a very good send-off for Kobayashi. And I think passing the torch to Otsuka was also a good move. He's a great voice actor, and I think he fits Jigen pretty well. So it was, his best of terms he could have gone out on. So big respect to Kobayashi.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the best you could hope for, because unless you want them to just stop making Lupin forever, you're gonna exceed a person's lifespan at some point. He started this role when he was 40, and it's been going for over 50 years with no stopping. So you can't do that forever. So if you're gonna have it, have him end his tenure on the 50th anniversary of the original TV series, and you're going to give him a big old tribute farewell, and then he's able to do all that while he's still alive and able to, then yeah, that's as good as you could possibly hope for. I think that's awesome that it worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I just started watching Lupin Part 1 last night for the first time ever.
Nice.
It's good. It's different.
Did they add that
Yeah,
to
it's
some streaming site? Or
I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. It's probably on either Crunchyroll or Retro Crush.
That's true.
Yeah, it has a little bit more of a harder edge than Lupin that people are used to. Like Jigen kills people like on the reg.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like the original manga from Monkey Punch was way more risque and dark than the show ended up being in like the Miyazaki years.
Yeah, especially like Part 3, which is what everybody would really know. I believe that was one that was on Adult Swim for a while.
Part 2.
Part 2, yeah. I always mix those two up. Part 3 is the weird one where the intro is like the FBI are just people who are wearing FBI t-shirts and dancing in a discotheque. and shit where it was Italian and really over the top like comedy and stuff to where it was surreal. Yeah, Part 2 is that's the one that was on Adult Swim that I grew up with, and probably most people know of that, or obviously Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting to, watch this series with a historical context and look at all the big names in the credits and how they change over the episodes, and think about where these people were in their careers. Because I ended last night on I think it's episode 7, which is the first thing that Hayao Miyazaki ever directed. And you have your original director whose direction they didn't like, the studio didn't like, and so then they had Miyazaki and Takahata come in and make it a very different kind of series. And then there were some episodes where all three of them worked on it, and then the original director was gone entirely. So yeah, you definitely see that evolution in these very early episodes of what the Lupin anime becomes for the most part. But yeah, probably my favorite thing about Lupin is the fact that it has so many different interpretations through so many different creators and so many different tones and aesthetics throughout. Because you have completely family-friendly gentleman thief with a heart of gold, and then you have horribly violent, murdering criminals and nudity everywhere and sex and just awful, awful trauma. So yeah, it's a great series with something for everyone. But yeah, it's the one constant throughout this entire time was Kobayashi. And so, yeah, he's, I think, the only person I can think of that has worked on a single property in this industry for that long. So definitely a legend to have lost.
Yep.
All right. Next piece of news. So Haikyuu is getting a 2-part final anime film. Now, this is exciting in some ways, but also a little worrying. And that's because there are 110 chapters left to adapt in Haikyuu, and 2 films does not sound like enough time to adapt 110 chapters of manga.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I'm not sure why they made that decision, because the series is very successful and makes a lot of money. So I don't know how that's going to go.
I understand the like very base level logic of it. They're like, okay, there's like 2 more big matches left before the series ends. Let's just give each of them a movie. But like you said, 110 chapters split between 2 probably like hour and a half ish films is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Plus, they've been drip feeding some like post content recently. I think there's been like a few just like post chapters, but who knows? I'm assuming that they're going to announce some kind of spin-off or sequel or something after the films come out, but I don't know. I have not read. This is one of the few things I am keeping up with just through the anime, but yeah, like you said, excitement and also kind of scared.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all works out.
I can't wait to see what Burnout Syndrome song they choose for this one.
I got to see them at Crunchyroll Expo, and
That's sick.
let's see, they have 3 Haikyuu songs. They played 7 Haikyuu songs because they had a mini concert where they opened for Sim, and then they had their main concert the next night. And I don't know if they just didn't get the concept of an encore, or they didn't expect one because they didn't have an encore song planned. They're just like, which Haikyuu song do you guys want to hear again? So, and it was the song they ended on anyway, so they just played the exact same song twice in a row.
Dang. Did they do the Dr. Stone opening?
Of course, yeah.
That one. Yes.
That's probably what they're like most popular for at this point.
Damn.
Most important to my heart is, well, I mean, I love their Haikyuu songs, but their Gintama song.
Yeah, the Gintama song also very good.
All right. Another production IG anime property that is getting a new film. This is for its 10th anniversary. And it's Psycho Pass, which has gotten a bunch of stuff throughout the years. It had its original TV series in 2012, which was a perfectly good story and complete. And then it had a sequel series that was not very good. And then a movie follow up to that, and then a trilogy of like anthology backstory movies for a few of the characters that just got released on Crunchyroll, I think in the past week or so, and maybe 2 weeks ago. And then it got a 3rd season, which was better than the 2nd one, but it was a mostly new cast. And then that got like a sequel movie type deal. So now we are getting yet another new Psycho Pass movie.
Now, I've only watched the 1st season, and like you said, very perfectly wrapped up. Should I even bother watching the rest of it? Because from what I hear, not really.
Yeah, I would say no, because the very next thing is by far the worst of the bunch. And it's mildly necessary for everything that comes after it. That's why, like, in situations like this, I'm kind of going to touch on this in another story pretty soon. In situations like this, I kind of hope that any new thing that comes out is not like a masterpiece, because then I do have to tell people that they got to watch Psycho-Pass 2 to get to it.
Yeah. Is there any staff related to that announcement? Like, is there a Butchie coming back or anything?
I feel like they did not confirm anything. I mean, they confirmed the director who directed all of it, and his production IG who did all of it. So yeah, nothing announced other than the factors that have been consistent all throughout. So not sure if Urubuchi will be there. I believe so far he's only done the original series and the first film. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, like, if he's not involved, then I'm not really interested. It's not really Psycho-Pass as I see it. Because, like, the other writers have, like, he has a very distinctive writing style. So when other writers try to exist in his universe, and, you know, follow up to his stories, you can definitely tell that thematically it does not line up with what he was going for. And I think it was never intended to be more than the original series. It just was too successful, and when something's too successful, they need to keep making it, even if it shouldn't.
I remember when it had that, I think it was a PS4 game. It may have even been on the woefully neglected PS Vita as well. What was it? Mandatory Happiness?
Mm-hmm.
That came out to very little fanfare. So it was interesting in that it got, several different media, attempts over here. Yeah, the movies, the series, and then a video game over here. Because normally when it comes to anime video games, until recently, we got like your standard DBZ, Naruto, the big boys. And then to see that we were getting a Psycho-Pass game was a little weird. In that, yeah, normally that doesn't really happen over here. You got to be a big tentpole franchise to get that kind of treatment.
Was that like a visual novel?
Yeah,
I think it
that
was.
the weirder part.
Yeah.
It was like a visual novel. It was like, whoa, of all the things to release here.
I mean, I think those... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, sounds like it would end up on the Vita, for sure.
Yeah, right.
Especially actually as a visual novel, because a lot of those did end up on the Vita. Like, Vita has Steins Gate on it.
Huh.
So they got a lot of like visual novel type games on the Vita. It was a big like port machine for that. Yeah. A lot of JRPGs and visual novels.
Yeah, it was very popular for a visual novel machine.
Yeah, for sure. Like Japan loved the Vita. Everyone else not so much. And visual novels get ported to every single system. And yeah, the Vita proved very effective for, they probably didn't end up on a lot of Nintendo handhelds. So for a system that you could, get your waifus on the train, perfect. Anyway, and I think that was written by Urubuchi too, maybe, since he comes from a visual novel background. I think he might have gone and worked on that.
Interesting.
Next piece of news, another new anime announcement for an original. This is, so I know no one wants to hear this. It's actually pronounced SK8, but I know you all want to call it Skate. Huh? So Skate the Infinity is getting a new...
That's stupid.
All right, redacted. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Revisionist history.
Oh, no.
Anyway, Skate, as we like to call it for the most part, is getting a new OVA and a second season.
Excellent.
I was not expecting that, honestly.
Yeah.
It did wrap up that like first season pretty nicely for the most part. Like the bad guy becomes kind of a weird good guy, and everybody hangs out and skateboards and is friends by the end of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure where they could take it in terms of just like either moving to an entirely different, character set, except maybe the main two guys whose name I forget at this point. But or you just expand the character roster to include everyone and then just introduce like a new bad guy, or they could do like skating gangs.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the old Canadian homies show up, be like, yeah, we know how to snowboard, so we can skate too. And then they're probably going to bring all kinds of stuff into it. Maybe they'll go like an X Games route, and there'll be like people on bikes and motocross and stuff.
I was thinking that's a good idea, but I was thinking since the first one was so ridiculous already, why don't we take the second season in more of a Mario Kart Double Dash mentality?
Yeah,
and we just start stacking skateboarders on top of each other.
Let's go double the beef.
That sounds on brand.
Double the beef.
Nice.
No, that's very exciting news. That's one of the pieces that I did know about before we went into it, just because I love that first show so much, because it's just got all that, the perfect balance and chemistry of like crazy fun sports anime. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got a whole bunch of weird characters that have normal everyday lives outside of skateboarding. It's got stupid jargon like beefs. Like it's so much fun. So I'm glad that it's getting more. I will gladly watch it.
Hey, and you're telling me you wanted more Skate the Infinity rather than more Birdie Wing?
Yeah. As unbelievable as that may sound, since I love golf anime so much, yeah, Birdie Wing really shit the bed as the show went on, but I would watch more Skate every single day. A dude in the first Skate gets hit with a skateboard at like 35 miles per hour directly in the face, and everyone's like, ooh, great move.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to one up after they're like the final beef. It was like pretty insane. So yeah, I'm hoping they do turn it up to 11.
Oh yeah, they go into like a whole other dimension.
Yes, let's go. Yeah, let's go Gurren Lagann with this shit.
Yeah, right. They beef so hard they transcend reality.
Whew.
That's why you need to bring in just like gangs now. Damn. And like duos.
I think it was probably another one of those series that they were like, oh, people really like this. Shit, I guess we should make more. I don't know that they were expecting it to be a big hit.
Was that Bones did that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Damn.
And another series that is getting a new anime season, One Punch Man. These have been shockingly few and far between for how big of a property this is. We don't know the studio or any of the staff yet. That will be a big determining factor in how excited one could be about this, because the first season was probably the best animated 12 episodes of television ever. The second season should have been more of that. I think it was even announced as a Madhouse property originally. It was announced like not long after the first season came out. It took like 4 years for it to finally come. It lost all its original staff. It was by JC staff. It was a director who had done almost nothing, certainly nothing like Sakuga heavy. It didn't have a bunch of big animation names. It was like perpetually behind schedule somehow, even though it got delayed all those years. It was just this production nightmare. There was like one really good animator who like clearly didn't sleep for the entire production because he was like holding it together, making it work and making it look good every few episodes. The pacing was just not there. Nothing about what makes the original manga or the first anime season as great as they are was present in that in terms of presentation. It was just a big old disappointment. It also, you know, the arc that season started adapting, it's like just wrapping up in the manga now. It's been running for like 10 years. So they didn't have like a good point to end like the first season did, which is not their fault and will not be the fault of the subsequent however many seasons it takes to ever get through that arc, if it ever comes to that. So, the first season ends with like an incredible climax that is almost impossible to top. Second season, he punches a centipede. It's like the fifth centipede.
I don't even remember where the second season ended. Like, were they even going to the monster hideout yet? I don't even think that was.
I don't think so. No. Yeah, there's just like one of the big centipedes showed up and Saitama punched him, and I'm gonna say they traced over a shot from Madhouse's opening to the first season for Saitama's final punch of their season.
You're right, they did.
Yeah, like it looks exactly the same. That season is not wholly bad in a vacuum, but given its source material and its predecessor and expectations related to those things, massive disappointment. So this third season that we're finally getting now could certainly be more of that. I would say probably slightly more likely that it's closer to that than the ideal that we all dream of, which is the impossible first season that I don't know how it exists. But yeah, I don't think we're getting Madhouse and Shingo Natsume and Yutaka Nakamura and Arifumi Imai and all of these animators who like have to work under pseudonyms to work at Madhouse to just be part of this project. I don't think we're getting that again. And, kind of in the vein of what I was talking about with Psycho-Pass, I don't care that much anymore, because at this point, you got to watch season 2 to get to that point, and it's such like a downer after the highs of season 1 that I'm like, yeah, watch season 1. It's self-contained enough. Read the manga after that. It's a great manga. It looks incredible in every panel. It's occasionally animated in a sense. You can just read the manga.
Honestly, Murata is such a workhorse. They should just let him animate it. Screw it. He'll do it. You just ask him. And he'll be like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's so ridiculous when he, like, not only is he pumping out, like, 50 pages of, like, he definitely uses software to assist, but just the quality of his work, it's insane how long it looks like it should take him to pump this out. And he's just doing it constantly. And then he'll just be like, hey, I got bored and made a 3-minute animation. And it's just this incredible piece of animation that he did entirely by himself. And he's not even a trained animator.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know I just gave you guys like 112 pages, but I'm going to rewrite some of them because they just weren't up to my own standard. It's like, God damn,
he updates them too.
Does he still stream online? He used to stream online.
I hope so.
He used to stream him doing his art online. He would just like, and not a lot of people realized he was doing it either back when he did it.
I need more legendary moments like him being like, Fubuki, best girl. Oh, yeah. Like, that shit is gold. Oh.
Yeah, that guy is immortal. I hope he's not actually killing himself in this process, because the way he presents it, he is just like an impossible juggernaut.
Yeah. And I mean, I know One Punch Man already is a battle manga, but this next season or 2 or 3 seasons, it's like nonstop battles. So like, I pray for whoever has to animate. I'm throwing my money in the ring for Bones. Maybe Bones.
You think it's going to be a third one?
I don't know if it will be, but that's where I want it to be, I guess.
I mean, yeah, sure. If it can't get the team behind the first season, then getting the team behind Mob Psycho would certainly be the next best.
Exactly. And I mean, they probably got Yutaka Nakamura on speed dial over there, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's literally an employee of Bones. That's why he had to use a pseudonym just to work on One Punch Man, just because they couldn't not have all of the greatest animators in the industry, even if they weren't legally able to use their own name. That's how insane of a project that first season was. Yeah. We'll see.
We shall see.
Next piece of news. Is this my last death story? I hope so. This is another Japanese voice actor legend to pass away. It is Motomu Kiyokawa. He's probably best known as Professor Fuyutsuki from the Evangelion franchise. He might be like the only Evangelion cast member to have died now. But yeah, he was 87 and he died of pneumonia.
Damn. Was he, did he, I still haven't watched Final Evangelion, but he was the voice in that, I assume?
Yep. I don't think anyone in the Japanese cast of Evangelion has ever changed.
Nice.
Meanwhile, in the English versions, we have 7 Kaorus.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if you want consistency in that franchise, do not watch it in English. All right. Next piece of news, we have this is kind of anime related. There is going to be a live action adaptation of Paprika, specifically adapting the original novel that Satoshi Kon, based his anime film off of. So it might take some hints from that, might not. It might be completely faithful, and people will complain that it's not faithful because they only know the adaptation that Kon did. But yeah, either way, it is getting a live action version in the West. So see how that turns out.
Grumbling. Lots of grumbling.
See if it happens. A lot of these things do not happen.
Yeah. I mean, it could work. I mean, we already have Inception, so
yeah.
It is not an impossible thing to think about actually being made in terms of that. So I would personally give this a better chance at being made, but I don't know. That's just from gut feeling of we already have a movie very similar, so they have like almost a pseudo blueprint to work off of.
I mean, I think that plot point is kind of irrelevant to what medium it's in. Like, yeah, you can express that anyway. I haven't read the original novel, so I don't know how faithful Kon's film is, but there are a lot of things about that film that utilize the medium of animation very strongly that would not play out as smoothly in live action if attempted to be done the same way. So if they try to do, these crazy like parade sequences and stuff, it might not look quite as good, but that's not necessarily exactly what it was like in the novel. It's not necessarily their biggest concern. And they're probably going to take huge liberties anyway, because all of these adaptations do for some reason.
I think it's because they still think the American audience is like totally different and doesn't want international themes or whatever. That seems to happen a lot. It's like we need to make it for an American audience, so we need to make sure everyone's drinking Coke and wearing leather jackets.
Yeah.
I mean, all they need to do to capture the American audience be like, guys, it's like Doctor Strange, but it's not.
Yeah, that was going to be my counterpoint, sort of, where it's like, well, I don't even really like the Marvel movies, but I know I've seen the Doctor Strange, like the first one and clips of the second one, and they do all sorts of shit with CGI now that's nuts. Granted, the second Doctor Strange doesn't look super great in a lot of ways, but they still definitely, if they have the budget, can do all sorts of crazy fucking shit with quote-unquote live action now.
Yeah, the producers cracking their knuckles. How badly can we destroy these visual effects artists' lives?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it is funny. This is a separate tangent that I could go off on for a very long time, but the ghettoization of animation in the eyes of so many film enthusiasts, while their quote live action films are steadily just becoming animation the more CG they pack into them, which is just animation. And to the point that they needed to market the Jon Favreau Lion King as a live action adaptation, even though it's entirely an animated film. In fact, the most successful animated film ever released.
Jeez.
Yep.
I mean,
we already have a Marvel show that has a protagonist that's entirely CGI for them. Like, as far as as I know, like,
That's not a good bar.
no.
She-Hulk looks so bad.
I know. I'm just saying, like, we've even gotten to the point where the only true live action things left in some of these are the people, and even then, we're turning them almost entirely into CGI.
Yeah.
If such a big franchise like Full Metal Alchemist can't even get good visual effects for its live action stuff, I don't know. My hopes are my expectations are very low. So I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, again, like, I think all of this is like, if Paprika was an original anime property and they were specifically adapting that anime property, then these would be things that would be of chief concern. But if they're specifically adapting the original novel, I think those kind of visual things that we get in the movie are just very much Satoshi Kon. That was not necessarily conveyed in the text of the novel. Those are things that, most of the things in his films are basically like, you could do this in live action perfectly. All of his stuff is so grounded in reality aesthetically, so much more than your typical anime. But when it ventures into, like, the surreal, dreamlike qualities, like this film definitely does, he, uses his medium for all he can and just goes balls to the wall. So I think, the right approach to take is to be as creative as possible with your dreamlike sequences. Try to convey how you think people dream, but don't try to, ape the visuals of the original, because those were specifically made with 2D animation in mind, and it's probably going to look like shit if you try to make it one for one. And yeah, so far, most of the live action adaptations have not looked that great. Like, most of the Japanese ones kind of look like trash. Cowboy Bebop, we just got recently, looked real bad. You wouldn't have thought that it would. One Piece, surprisingly, has like amazing practical sets. Shocking how that got approved. Maybe it'll be the outlier, but there's still the factor of what's the CG going to look like, because you're going to have to do so much of that in that series. So no telling how that's going to turn out. I'd say, like, Ghost in the Shell is probably an exception. Like, for as bad as that movie was, and how kind of fake and hollow it all looked compared to Oshi's version, they were pretty good CGI effects, I would say. Anyway. Live action adaptation. This is a Korean live action property called Parasite, but not the Korean live action property called Parasite that you would normally think of. This is a Korean live action adaptation of the Parasite manga. So this is coming from Netflix. It is going to be called Parasite the Grey. I guess every adaptation needs its own subtitle. And yeah, I think it's about all we know about that so far. But it's another one, and it's not American, so it'll probably actually happen and not take 10 years.
Have there been any visuals with that, or just the announcement?
I don't believe there have been any visuals. They've got, like, the cast members, just, headshots of them as humans, normal people. So I don't think there's been any footage of what it'll look like.
I just want to know what Migi looks like.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the only, in the same vein of that conversation. Like, that's the real telling point, is what do the parasites look like?
Yeah.
And will we get the full dick joke?
Oh, we're gonna get the dick joke.
Yeah, not much else to say about that one. It's just been announced, and that's about all we have. I mean, I guess maybe if I was big into K-dramas, I might know these people from other works, but I have no idea about any of that. Speaking of Netflix, they announced a partnership with Nippon TV to get a bunch of anime from them. This includes, a bunch of beloved titles like Hunter x Hunter that you can stream anywhere, but also some big ones that have not been available for a while, if at all. And those include the original anime adaptation of Berserk from 1997, the good one. I mean, the movie trilogy is good too, but the really good one. And Monster.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, so those are big titles. Obviously, Monster was a big big disappointment for when Viz attempted to release it originally and only released the first 15 episodes out of 74. They did dub the whole thing. It all aired on Sci-Fi, I think. Yeah, it was weird. And it was all on Hulu for a while. And then only the first 15 episodes were on Hulu and a few other streaming services. And then none of it was available anywhere. This was all like 2010. So for the past decade and change, everyone has been asking Viz when they're getting more Monster. And it became obvious before too long that Viz was not interested in any more Monster at any point. Probably didn't even have the rights anymore. People would ask every other company that was in the business of rescuing old titles, and they would all say that it was like the most impossible, like tied up in all these weird rights issues, would not happen. So pretty big in terms of that. I hope that it kind of follows the pattern of Evangelion, where like it was impossible for anyone to get a hold of for over a decade, and then Netflix figures out how to get a streaming deal for it. They fucking replace the ending song or something, I don't know. And then eventually, within a year or two, home video rights kind of open up for it. Fingers crossed that we'll get something like that eventually, but at least it will be available to people. Berserk 97 also has not been available, I don't think, in any form for quite a while. It was released by Media Blasters on DVD singles way back in the day. But I'm not sure if it's been available in any other way. Certainly not home video, but I don't even think streaming recently. So yeah, those are two big things from that. I guess they have not necessarily explicitly confirmed the regions that these will be available in. So I guess it's possible that we will get our hopes up and then they'll not actually be available in like North America.
that would be absolutely terrible because I've wanted to watch the Monster anime for so long because the manga is so incredible. And then I remember Googling it and it was like, oh, watch on Amazon. I was like, oh, I have Prime, and then it like the Google link was like, oh, never mind. And then it was just available absolutely nowhere, which is a shame because I think it is definitely one of the best quote unquote adult like manga or anime stories out there. Like it feels like another one of those ones that would have a lot of appeal with people who don't normally like anime because it's it's like a fucking serial killer murder mystery thing and people love that shit.
True.
So that's exciting. It better come over here.
Yeah, certainly hope so.
Oh, don't worry, it won't.
Thanks.
Yeah, the Berserk 97 is also exciting, but I mean, I have the Dreamcast game, so I don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, these two series happen to be two like pretty good adaptations of two of by far the greatest manga of all time. And so like, as anime series, they are masterpieces, but they're still not quite as good as their source material. So if we don't get it, it'll be a big disappointment, but go read the manga. They're readily available and they're, the best of their medium. So at least we have that to fall back on.
Are those nice versions of the Monster manga still in like available? And I would doubt all of them would still be in print. But I looked around, and I know there was the versions you find most often are like the 9 paperback volumes that all kind of join together to make one big like gallery wall of like portraits and things. I can't remember what that edition was called.
Yeah, that's the nice one.
Oh, that is the nice one. Okay,
yeah, that's the perfect edition or something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I feel like I spot 1 or 2 volumes of it at a Barnes and Noble or at different comic stores every now and then. So they're still around. And I think Right Stuff, as we mentioned earlier, is usually has them available.
Well, they have volume 1 out of stock, expecting more, which bodes well-ish for them being in print.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Viz is still printing these releases, but yeah, to find an entire series of any manga available to just buy at any given point is kind of questionable.
Yeah, and then
especially recently.
Yeah,
I was going to say the deluxe versions of Berserk that are being printed right now are easily the best version you'll be able to read if you don't mind dropping the cash for it.
Oh yeah,
and finding the storage space.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, those are probably like my ideal manga releases. Like, yeah, I need to get a bunch of tall shelves to house them, but they are, I mean, it's my favorite manga. They're so gorgeous in every way. Huge, high quality printing, nice, faux leather binding, your little fancy bookmark thingy. It's so good, so good.
Before I started collecting the deluxe ones, I was collecting the paperbacks because I was like, like the deluxes are great, but also I just love all the covers for these. And then I come to find out after I collected all of the Golden Age arc in the paperback forms, I got the first of the deluxe and I was like, wait, they have the covers in the back of the back.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm good now.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those series.
Kestrel, you don't like the patently ridiculous Death Note all-in-one edition?
I actually bought that at some point and then regretted it and gave it away.
It's like impossible to read.
It is impossible to read. You guys, this isn't like... Sorry, go ahead.
Say, it's got nothing on that new One Piece.
Okay, we were about to say the same
thing. Oh my god. How many pages was it?
It was 21,000 something.
That's stupid.
How do you even... What?
No, yeah, it's a complete gimmick.
Does that go through Wano? What is the...
I think it's probably everything that was out at the time.
Jeez, that's crazy.
I mean, why make that at this point? Like, if you could wait 25 years, you can wait another 5 or 10.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine they'll sell a full one once it's over.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's like you buy it for the novelty of having it, and
of course.
You never open it.
Yeah, no chance.
You wouldn't be able to. I don't physically see how that's possible.
No.
You have to just have it like sitting there, held up by its own structure, and just like, lie on the floor and peek open onto the first page and then like go across the floor over the course of however many days it takes you to get through it all.
They have to personally deliver it on the Sunny because it's so big.
Yeah, it's going to be on the back of a truck with like one of those little flags hanging off because it's oversized.
Death Note does have a nice set of kind of premium releases though.
Those ones are harder to come across. I have the first like 2 or 3, and I have not seen the 4th one anywhere, and it's always out of print on Right Stuff. But yeah, those are cool. Black editions, and the outer side of the pages are all black. They're really cool.
Yeah, they do look really cool. Those are definitely older at this point. That was like mid-late 2000s that they released all those. So I'm not surprised that those are a little harder to get.
I do still see them in my Barnes and Noble every once in a while.
Nice.
Yeah, it's more like here's volume 4 and volume like 6, but they're still kind of there. The prevailing one is always that fucking impossible to read all-in-one edition.
Yeah, because that's more recent. Yeah. Okay. Next piece of news. So Dragon Ball Superhero came out in the US while we were on our hiatus, and did really well. Became the fifth highest grossing anime film in US box office history within like its first weekend. It debuted at like 30 million and something. It was the number one film in the country, which, I mean, you don't have a ton of competition in the market this time of year. But yeah, very impressive all around.
Does that beat Resurrection F for Battle of the Gods for box office?
Way bigger than
Broly.
those. It just barely edged out Broly. Yeah.
I say Broly would be the one that I would wonder how it did against.
Yeah. I think it just barely topped Broly's lifetime gross in its first weekend.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. Anime is big these days.
I have no interest in Super, but I almost want to see that movie because I hear Piccolo's in it.
He is, and so's Gohan, and they both get their love, and they aren't jobbers.
Wow, that's actually insane.
Yeah, it is very unconventional for Dragon Ball at this point because, like, I don't think it's giving away anything to say that those two are the main characters, and the main characters who have dominated all of Dragon Ball for decades are basically cameos. Like, they are completely irrelevant to the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it quite yet. My brother did, and he's like, yeah, it's nice to see some of those B characters, especially considering Gohan was originally supposed to like carry on Goku's legacy and be the strongest and the protagonist. It's nice to see him get some love and get to be strong and kick some ass and not have it just be he kicks ass for a while until he does something dumb or stops kicking ass, so then Goku can then kick ass again. Like,
yeah.
If you stop watching after Cell Saga, Gohan is the best.
He is. Gohan is the best if you stop watching immediately after that. So I look forward to checking it out. Yeah, especially because Piccolo as well. I really like Piccolo. He's probably my favorite of the, B tier characters. So, especially because I feel like he's one of those ones. I feel the same way with Tien. Put in so much work and just get nothing out of it.
Like you said, they're jobbers at the end of the day.
Yeah, they really are. It's like they work and work and work just so they can show the viewers how strong an enemy is. Except, well, for Piccolo, maybe. If Tien gets beat up, it's just like, oh, that's a normal Tuesday.
Yeah. Tien, why are you here, bro?
I mean, that's Yamcha's role in Super specifically is literally just to be the butt of those jokes now.
They do it in a baseball game.
Yeah.
Yamcha was getting cucked all the way back in original Dragon Ball.
100%. But now his character exists solely for the series to make self-aware fourth wall breaking jokes about how that's Yamcha's role.
I did enjoy the little one-off. I got reincarnated as Yamcha. That was silly.
Oh, and this movie also has one of those jokes at Krillin's expense. So look forward to that. Yep.
Krillin is basically just one step above them.
Does Piccolo drive a car, though? I need to know.
You'll have to wait to find out.
No.
I think they just announced like a big steelbook like set of the series too.
Yep, of all of Super, yeah.
Yeah, that you can buy in one of those long boxes.
Yep.
I'm still contemplating if I should get the Dragon Ball box set, the original one. I've been wanting that for a while.
Which one? Which box set?
Yeah.
I think it's just the original Dragon Ball series. It's got like Goku riding the Nimbus on it.
Is it the 5 blue boxes?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, don't get those.
No.
Well, okay, so I mean, if you want to wash the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z series and have them like presented in a good way that mirrors how they were originally presented and aren't bastardized in any way, become fluent in Japanese, find a time machine, move to Japan, and then you'll probably be set. There aren't really any good releases, but compared to the orange bricks for Dragon Ball Z, the blue bricks for Dragon Ball, they're not that bad. They're not cropped. I mean, they're a little cropped, but they're not letterboxed to 16:9. So at least there's that.
My bad. I was talking about the manga box set, not the TV show. Sorry, but yeah, that was another thing. I was collecting Dragon Ball in the 3-in-1s, and I don't know, those just weren't doing it for me. So I was probably gonna get the volume box set.
So I mean, the box sets are with the manga, it's less like night and day between releases. Like they're mostly pretty consistent. If you can find the Viz Big releases for the entire series still, that's probably not that likely because it's been a long time since they were released, and they've done like the kind of shitty little 3-in-1s since then that are probably more prevalent. If you can find all the Viz Big releases, those are the best that you're going to find the manga in English.
Okay, I'll keep that on my radar.
I'm still waiting for them to do like the Kanzenban releases from Japan, because those are the actual good manga releases that everyone's been wanting. But I'm still waiting for now Crunchyroll to, not fuck up the anime releases, and keep them in print, unlike the Dragon boxes, and do it for the original Dragon Ball as well. So, yeah, like Star Wars, like whatever else we were talking about, not a series that can catch a break and get the version we want for some reason. All right, so that other long-running isekai light novel series that is going to end is Mushoku Tensei. This is the series that just got an anime recently. It's getting a second season soon. It is kind of considered one of the, original light novel or isekai light novels that established a lot of the tropes that we associate with isekai from the past 10 years. It's been running for a decade. It's going to end at 26 volumes, so pretty substantially long. It's been one of my favorite isekai light novel series since they started releasing it in English, and one of my favorite isekai anime series since that came out. So, I'm glad it'll have an end. I'm, again, curious to see, like, will the isekai factor be at all relevant? But, yeah, hopefully it goes out well. It's nice when things have an end.
I did not realize how long it had been going. I feel like the anime recency bias made me think it was a newer series. But
yeah, no, it was really considered really influential for like all the big isekai stuff that we've had for the past maybe not decade, but certainly all the big stuff that is included, like Isekai Quartet, all those series. All right, another anime series that is getting a new season is the Ancient Magus Bride. So this got some OVAs that were done by Studio Kafka, which is this new spin-off of Wit Studio, because Wit Studio doesn't want to do sequels. So this studio is taking over the franchise. They're going to do this new second season, and it is confirmed to be premiering in the spring 2023 season.
This show this series in general confuses me because I was reading it when it was originally publishing, and then I think the manga artist took a break or did a hiatus because of illness, and then I never knew if it came back or not. And then, the OVAs came out and this season got announced, and I thought to myself, where even is it at this point? I haven't even seen anything about the manga continuing. So
it's still releasing regularly in English, so I'm guessing it's still regularly releasing in Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still getting volumes of the 7 Seas release that are well past where the anime left off.
Yeah. Sure. And there's enough there for an entire season.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they only do one core for this.
Yeah. I wasn't super thrilled with how the anime adaptation turned out for the first season.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. The OVAs were good, though. I thought the OVAs were really good.
Yeah, like the OVA I watched was pretty decent. It's just like there's something about the presentation. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was as good as the manga.
Yeah, maybe the second season will be better.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad by any means. Like, I'm looking forward to watching more of it in animation.
Yeah, it was.
I know what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Next piece of news. Here's a name I haven't heard in quite a while. The Rose of Versailles is getting a new anime film.
Why not?
Sure. Everything old is new again.
When was the last time something was released for that?
Like, made?
Like early mid 90s? Or was it an 80s thing? I'm honestly not.
The 80s, 70s? Yeah, the only adaptation it ever got was 1979 to 1980.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been a bit.
Which is weird because I always feel like I see random like merch and other things for it that I was like, oh, this is something that is just like a big shoujo property that I have not ever kept up with. And yeah, little did I know, it's because it's very old and that's all there was.
Yeah, it's definitely like a, legendary tentpole property, especially for like shoujo that, surpasses the normal demographic and tells more adult stories, at least in the second half of the anime adaptation. I think the author has been historically like crazy protective of the property, so maybe that's why we haven't gotten any more material in the past 40 plus years. But I wonder what it'll be called, because they have to call it Lady Oscar in the West now. That's why Discotek's releases are Lady Oscar now.
Huh.
Why was that?
I don't know. They made
Weird.
them. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Because history is scary.
Yeah.
Weird.
But yeah, I haven't read any of the manga. I mean, both the anime and manga have gotten like recent, really nice releases in the US. The manga got really nice hardcover editions, and then the anime got Blu-rays from Discotek, even though they had to call it Lady Oscar, and that was really nice to have. I haven't read any of the manga. The anime has like, kind of like what I was talking about with Lupin, has two very different halves depending on who is directing it. So the first half of it is like kind of painful shoujo, very 70s shoujo. And then the second half by Dezaki was like, turns into shockingly adult historical drama. And it's really good. So I would recommend it, with the understanding that you're going to have to slog through some early episodes that are a little rough. But I'm curious to see what happens with this new film. I don't think we really know anything about it, except that it'll be in Rose of Versailles film. I don't know if they're going to try to like cram the whole story into it, because the previous anime is not only very old, but covers the complete story, and there is no place to continue after the end of that story. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to do.
You should let Ikuhara direct it.
I don't know how interested he is in adaptations at this point.
That's fair. Are they still making like, was he making like a Penguin Drum film or something?
Yeah, I do think I remember hearing something about that. So yeah, anyway, that's going to happen at some point, which is interesting to hear, because yeah, not many announcements that have a gap of like 45 years since the last time it got animated. All right, next piece of news. I know I don't talk about video games on this podcast that often, but this seems significant enough. We're finally getting that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel after over 6 years. We finally have a title. It is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and it is going to be released on May 12th, 2023.
Nice.
I really gotta play the first one.
Yeah, I really got to finish the first one.
This gives me a clock to beat.
I'm glad we're all on the same page there, because I felt so ashamed for playing through half of that game 5 years ago and then never touching it again. Because it's definitely one of the greatest games I've ever played.
My copy is still in its sealed case, and it's just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, this is a game I can play whenever. I'll get to it. It's great. It'll be great. And then, in the backlog pile it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always said...
The preview looked good. I mean, it looks like, if anything, it's just going to be probably a refinement of the formula in systems, because the aesthetics are all still very much the same, and I think the first one really kind of pushed the Switch already, so I don't think there's a whole lot of hidden horsepower that they could find, because I know late in console lifetimes you normally get some of the best looking games because the developers sort of figure out the ins and outs and what they can and can't get away with. But that first Zelda looked like as good as it could get on the Switch, it feels already, especially since it was in-house developed. So I mean, it certainly looks like Zelda and looks like fun. So yeah, I gotta play the first one. I saw that there was a big old hang glidey thing that he landed on at one point, and I was like, oh, that looks like kind of cool, like a sort of skydiving element.
Oh yeah, you can do that all day in the first one. Yeah, that is particularly impressive because it was a launch title for the Switch. Just how well that game was made in every way.
Well, that's pretty standard for Nintendo stuff. I mean, going all the way back to the N64, Super Mario 64 was incredibly good and still one of the better looking and playing games all the way up near the end of the N64 console, which is just, I guess, comes with the territory when the same company that makes the console is also developing a game for the console, so they have it from, start to finish.
Yeah. And that's also why part of the reason I wasn't too mad that this kept getting delayed was the fact that I still haven't gotten around to playing the first one or finishing the first one, and so it gives me more of an excuse to keep putting it off. But the other reason is because Breath of the Wild got a bunch of delays, and what we got was a product that they clearly really took their time to make really good. So if they want to do that again to make this just as good as a follow-up, then that's great. I'm happy for that. I know a lot of people have compared it, even though it doesn't exist yet or isn't available yet, to what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time, which makes total sense. You had this hit acclaimed as one of the greatest video games of all time. Even a series that constantly reinvents itself like Zelda, when you've got lightning in a bottle like that, you can't help but make that again. And so, Majora's Mask followed up on Ocarina of Time using the same kind of engine and assets and some of the mechanics. And it seems like this is going to be very similar to that. Nintendo has specifically said that comparison is unfair. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be totally different. But I don't know. It seems like it so far. So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. Nintendo is one of the few game devs when you hear it's being delayed, you're like, okay, good. They're gonna get the kinks worked out, and it's all gonna be even better, rather than oh no, what's happening behind the scenes?
Oh. Yeah, this is another one that Impossible Expectations can possibly be as good as its predecessor, right? But it's probably going to be pretty great anyway. So.
Oh yeah.
Definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully I find time to finish the first one by then.
Now, if you just get to Metroid Prime 4, that'd be great.
My poor boy Donkey Kong hasn't had a game in 6-7 years.
That's true. Some Donkey Kong love would be nice. A new Mario Kart, perhaps.
Ooh, no, they're gonna keep milking this thing till Switch 2.
That's true.
I mean, they have that the map pass that's just gonna keep going for I think 2 years. So
Yeah, which breathes some life into the game because you get some bonus maps from like the cell phone game, a couple of them, and then just various other ones. So I guess that was their answer to like, we don't want to make one until maybe a new Switch comes out. So here's some more maps, I guess.
I guess that's fine. Mario Kart 8 is pretty good. So why reinvent the wheel?
Is that a pun?
Maybe.
It just needs like, some type of net code that makes sense. Because the way that online play for Mario Kart now is fucking dog shit.
That's less of a Mario Kart issue, more of a Nintendo issue.
Yeah, that I would agree with that. They've never been good with the whole, hey, the internet exists and games are played on it idea.
Which is crazy because Splatoon is like the biggest game in Japan. And I can only imagine the netcode or something has to work better over there because I couldn't imagine.
Or they just deal with it.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. My last piece of news that I have on here is that the My Dress Up Darling TV anime is getting a sequel. This aired earlier this year. It was a pretty big hit, mostly for having a great waifu character, I guess. But even though it was very unabashedly horny, it was also a really like sincere look into the passion of the cosplay community and just fans of different obscure pursuits in life, and how they can have mutual respect for each other. So I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Definitely one of the better romance shows I've seen in a minute. It definitely balanced the horny with the wholesome, I think.
Mhm.
It must have been really wholesome then, because there was a lot of horny.
Oh, yeah. That's what people like to focus on. And like,
I mean, it's hard not to.
yeah.
Seeing the outline of Gojo's dick, how can you not?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly did not pretend that that was not an appeal of it. But at the same time, it had a really genuine story to tell, and a lot of sweet elements to it. So I think as long as you can deal with the horny aspects of it, I think it's a really good show.
Yeah, I think DJ liked it as well, right?
Yeah, well, DJ would have liked it even if it wasn't a good show.
I mean, come on, that's DJ. Come on, think about this for a minute here.
Well, I mean, there was no psychological torture, was there?
I suppose not.
Okay, good point.
Yeah. It didn't actively abuse the viewer.
I'm curious to know if he finished Rent a Girlfriend season 2.
I look forward to hearing about that next week.
Oh, last news item is mine. I added this on here.
Yeah. Go for it.
Announced during TGS and that stuff was that Genshin is getting an anime something from. Do we pronounce this UFO-table or Uuuu-foh-tah-blay or?
Okay, so here's the thing. So, like, clearly it's supposed to be UFO-table. But in Japan, they always pronounce it UFO-table. And then at the beginning of all of their productions, they begin with a card that says, and their name, production, which implies that it's pronounced UFO-table because that's the only thing that "an" would go before instead of "a."
And UFO.
Yeah. So all three of those are like acceptable. I've heard most people default to UFO-table, but they recently, I don't know, a few months ago, put out a tweet and then deleted it suspiciously that said that it was explicitly pronounced UFO-table.
That's why
so
it's a deleted tweet.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was that's somebody going, I don't know what. Oh.
Yeah.
Right, now it's officially Umphy-table, and that's what I agree on.
The only things that I've heard said unironically that are definitely wrong are ufotable or ufotable. Just the worst. Don't ever stop it.
Like a verb.
Yeah, exactly. That's an adjective.
What about audible?
Yeah.
I like that one. And you need the pause between the uff and the rest of it.
Uuuu-foh-tah-blay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it Uuuu-foh-tah-blay from now on. Genshin's getting an anime from Uuuu-foh-tah-blay.
I just get around it by saying the Fate Zero people.
The people that make the really fancy shit. We literally know nothing else about this. They did a cute little trailer thing with like Paimon and the Travelers and like yeah. I hope they're just not retelling the story from the game. They probably are, which would be pointless, but they really should like I don't know, animate some of the backstory stuff that has happened in the game that like we hear about, because that's way more fascinating than just doing a straight adaptation of the game content.
I mean,
the anime has gotcha.
Oh, that would be that. Yeah. How would that work?
No, they did.
You have to roll to continue the episode.
Sure.
They did a Uuuu-foh-tah-blay did also the Tales of Symphonia animation, which I didn't know existed, and also is weird because I think the actual animation in the game is production IG. But Uuuu-foh-tah-blay got the show portion, which is odd. I'm only bringing it up because I'm playing through the game right now, and I know that Vesperia had like an OVA movie type deal, but I guess Symphonia had an 11 episode OVA thing, even though my anime list says 4 episodes. Maybe it was just split into 11 for something else.
I think there was a Tales of Berseria anime as well, or maybe they just
it was
in the show.
It was
Zestiria. That's the one that got 26 episodes by Uuuu-foh-tah-blay.
Zestiria the X.
Yeah, the cross, actually.
Whatever, man, I hate that shit.
Okay, yeah. So there were 3 Tales of Symphonia OVAs by Uuuu-foh-tah-blay. There were 4 episodes, 3 episodes. So that's where the 11 comes by Uuuu-foh-tah-blay. Sorry, were you baiting me to say Uuuu-foh-tah-blay?
I was.
I see.
Wait, Kane, are you playing the old one, or was because they just announced like a remaster, right?
Yeah, and it looks just the same as the PC and the PS3 version, so it's not really a remaster.
Just like for the Switch, like a port, basically.
Essentially, that's what it looks like it's turning into, and it's locked at 30 FPS and all sorts of shit. So, I mean, I was playing the PC version before that was announced. I'm like 40 hours in, and maybe I should just watch the anime.
I don't know. I watched the anime, and I haven't played the games, but I think people were pretty like miffed. But that's
I'm sure it's 11 episodes, and the game is 80 hours.
I think the only experience I have with the Tales franchise at all is that I watched all 26 episodes of the Tales of Zestiria the Cross anime. It wasn't that good.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me a whole lot.
Yeah.
Weirdly better than the game.
No.
Yeah, the Zestiria didn't get a whole lot of love.
No, it had some narrative issues, which weirdly the anime kind of solved. Like, it solved every problem I had with the game's narrative, which tells you something about how not great the game was.
Yeah, circling back, I'm kind of surprised Genshin didn't, I don't know, have an anime already. I mean, you're basically playing an anime, so maybe that's why it kind of was held off. Like, I'm so used to it being in the reverse, where like the anime comes and then the game is either with it or like very shortly thereafter.
Chinese to begin with, so
yeah, they're just a bunch of weebs who want their games to look like anime.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Chinese game, so when they started making it, I don't think they realized, like, their previous game was, popular enough that they had cash to start this game. But even in the time since we're hitting the 2nd year release anniversary now, and they basically update it like an MMO, so like patches come out regularly with new content, and the pace and quality of that content is getting faster because they were able to staff up quite a large amount, and COVID is over. So, and since they're still making bank on it, they can kind of do whatever they want. And they can certainly afford to fund a crazy looking anime if they so wish.
Man, it's only been 2 years. Jesus Christ.
And they keep doing like crazy crossovers with like all sorts of random bullshit. Restaurants, car companies, basically.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those. Those do look kind of fun. They had a Demon Slayer one, I think, recently.
But
another Uuuu-foh-tah-blay.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. Well, it's getting late, so we should
wrap it up.
Yeah. Anybody have any recommendations of stuff that we didn't already cover in this episode at some point?
Well, what would we have covered in this episode? We talked about boobs.
I don't think I really do at this point, other than just like Licorice Recoil is good. So if you need something to watch for the season that's also original, because those are always fun, that's good. And there's still time to wrap it up, because to like wrap it up before it's over, because I don't think it is quite yet. But I would say that.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of new releases, I don't really have anything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but I have been hearing lots of good stuff about the cyberpunk anime from Trigger.
Oh yeah,
that
throw that on my summary list next week.
Yeah, right. That just got thrown up on Netflix. Only about 10 episodes, so you could probably power through that. But I've been hearing really good things about it, so I'm excited to watch that.
It made people buy the game, which is those people are in for a little bit of a surprise.
Those poor saps.
Yeah, I mean, I played it and enjoyed it, and I know it's not going to be... I haven't even watched that anime, but I'm like, there's no way that anime is going to be really representative of what you actually do in the game.
No. Not unless the anime has... what's his name in there? Not Joaquin Phoenix. Fucking...
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
It does not, but weirdly enough, one of the characters in an otherwise voice cast of just anime voice actors is Giancarlo Esposito.
Huh.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, that show's really good. I'll probably talk about it next week.
Nice.
I'm looking through all the releases from the summer. I think I probably mentioned the Vinland Saga limited edition last time we recorded. Maybe the last 2 times. Also, Kingdom Season 3. You can get the first Blu-ray of that. That series kind of reinvented itself in Season 3 and 4. It is now a really great series instead of a series with really great material and pretty hideous visuals. So if you can get through the first 2 seasons, which I mean, it's not like Berserk bad, then these 2 seasons are really good. You can also get Belle on 4K now in a nice fancy collector's edition. I got that. Let's see, we've got that Dragon Ball Super Steelbook collection that Kane was talking about. You can get all of Dragon Ball Super for $200 or whatever you can find it for online. The Demon Slayer Mugen Train TV arc. I think mine just shipped today. The limited edition of that and standard edition both come out in a week. I think that's about it for... Oh, and also in a week, the Dororo Blu-ray limited edition from Sentai. A lot of stuff. And watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's really good. I know nothing about Cyberpunk. It's just a really good anime. And if you're into Game of Thrones and you were turned off by the shitty last season, watch House of the Dragon, because it is the great Game of Thrones that you remembered.
Oh yeah. For all the JoJo fans out there, a new Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan manga, I think, releases this week, if not already has released. So that's one of the manga in the shipment going to my old apartment. So once I find that, I'll be able to enjoy it. But yeah,
I hope your old apartment is not 3,000 miles away.
Luckily, it's not.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Kate? Got any recommendations?
No, your recommendations were good. I accept your recommendations.
Sorry.
They're mine now.
I shall not substitute my own.
All right, then. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. You should subscribe, rate, and review. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon Music, wherever else. We're on fandompost.com. You can find us on social media, follow us, like our stuff, share it, get in contact with us, whatever. We're on Twitter and Facebook at Fandom Post Radio. You can email us, fandompostradio@gmail.com. And I'm on Twitter at FullMetalKilmo.
You can find me on most of my socials as Hellshake Brando. Look forward to some reviews on Fandom Post. I just put up Rooster Fighter about a month ago, first volume of that, and then Look Back from the creator of Chainsaw Man was just released physically here, and I wrote a very long review about it, so please check that out as well.
I do not have a presence anywhere but this podcast, so everybody should know that by now, but I feel obligated to say it every single time.
Hey, things could have changed. It's been a while.
That's true.
You could have gotten bought by Crunchyroll.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Man, that'd be great. I'd chill for them.
Sure, there you go. You heard it here first, folks.
You know what's a really great deal? The High School of the Dead OVA. I don't understand why more people don't buy it.
You shouldn't chill a release from their only competitor.
I'm playing both sides. That way I always win.
They're going to have to ship the Arrow side of Kane to Las Vegas. I'm sorry.
You can find me on Twitter at SonicBug, where I am posting, I don't even know anymore, things from other people.
Retweet Fridays.
Yeah, Retweet Fridays. It's the only thing I do when I remember to actually do reviews. Actually, I got some books in review, so I actually will be doing some reviews in the very near future. Or Chris will come and kill me. So, yeah, if you want a review for the Fandom Post, please reach out. I believe there's a standing offer. We need more reviewers. So if you like to get free shit in the mail in exchange for a review, please hop on board. Nobody wants to run their own website nowadays, but if you want to share your opinions in the world, we'll give you an outlet. So, that's all I got. That's all I got this week. Send us your thoughts and your feelings and your thoughts on the summer season, since next week we will be reviewing our closing thought, whatever. Words. Summer's over. Shows happened. We will be talking about them next week. Until then, thanks for joining us, and tune in next week. For reals this time. No 2-month break this time. I swear to God, for another episode of Fandom Post Radio.
The
Ciao.
Adios.